Everybody, this is one of the original Wild Soul Movers, Christine Juckett, who is also a Wild Soul Movement teacher. She's also like the MVP Wild Soul Movement teacher. She has taught the most classes of all the Wild Soul Movement teachers since 2017. Time is so weird, by the way.
It is. It really is. It's like, I don't know when I started. I don't know. Who knows? It's just important that we're doing it.
It's just important that we're doing it. So Christine is another person who has been to a couple Wild Soul Movement workshops. She's been to a teacher training retreat. She's done the different iterations of the virtual program. And so she's had all the experiences with Wild Soul Movement that are to be had. So I'm excited, and one of the reasons why I invited her here is to be able to offer various perspectives on all those different experiences and what was beneficial from each one, what she loves, and why she'd recommend it to other people. So I also know that you're someone who does, you do Reiki, you're into spiritual things in air quotes, right? Like you go to women's circles, you do other stuff. So what, in your experience, has been different about Wild Soul Movement than other things that you've done?
Yeah, well, Wild Soul Movement is really about you discovering yourself. And not that those other practices aren't, but I feel like there's an element of kind of giving up control sometimes when you go, to some spiritual gatherings. Mm-hmm. But Wild Soul Movement is really about you having the control and being able to tap into yourself at a soul level through using your body.
Yeah.
So, using meditation, but it's all about really going in rather than going up and out, where a lot of those circles and practices, you're kind of really just going out of your body to connect.
Yeah, no one has articulated it that way before. Thank you for that.
Sure.
And so how about across the different experiences? You've done every single Wild Soul Movement I've ever created video. I mean, over 65, if not more. I forget how many are in the teacher training member portal, but you've done all of them, and some many, many times. So what's for you the difference between like your private personal practice and being in the room with other women in workshops or the retreat?
I love that question. Well, for me, I feel like I'm not the same person every day. It's like your moods change, the season changes, things that are going on in your life change. So just kind of coming back to the practice as a core way of me to connect with myself, going through the different mantras, going through the different topics. It's just a really good way and a really effective way of me to uncover kind of what's going on with myself. And just even though there have been a lot of different iterations, really the core of it is the same. And it's connection. It's asking yourself some very important questions and giving yourself the time to reflect, giving yourself the time to answer the questions, and to kind of sit with it and to notice how certain things feel and to notice what comes up kind of without judging them, just a bigger awareness. So every time you've had the course, or every time I've done it maybe during a different season, the results are the same, even though the practice could be really different each time. And the same goes for me holding the classes as a teacher. Each group of women that come in the class, even though we're covering the same 12 topics, just the energy of the women are different. And the what's going on in the world is different. Mm-hmm. So the practice can definitely can help every day.
Yeah,
absolutely.
What is different about you and your life, specifically anything in your world, but also how you treat yourself since doing Wild Soul Movement?
Well, I'd have to say there's so many things, but I'd have to say the biggest thing is just not judging myself for where I've come from, things that I've come through. And then additionally, just I've really allowed myself to open the door on so many different possibilities as a result of Wild Soul Movement, giving myself the credit I deserve and just leaving myself open and available for really cool things to come in my life.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for anyone listening, back in, was it April? It was April of this year, 2018. Christine came to the workshop I ran in South Jersey. And, she's a teacher and she's taught a bunch of classes. So for one of the movement sessions, I was like, hey, Christine, you want to teach it? And I practically sobbed the whole time watching her, because it was the first time I ever got to see one of my teachers teaching. Like, I kind of am like tearing up right now. Most people are listening. If you're watching it, you can see just like watching one of my teachers teach, like not at like the retreat or not during training, but like a real group of students. And I got to do it. I got to do Wild Soul Movement taught by somebody else. And I'm like crying on my mat. It was so amazing. If anyone's in South Jersey, if you go to wildsoulmovement.com/events, you can check out when Christine's classes are and get to do some Wild Soul Movement in real life. But anything else I haven't asked you about the experience? I mean, you've been practicing for 4 years now. Anything you feel compelled to share that feels important to you, or anything that's just like your favorite thing or your favorite part, or like what sends you back to Wild Soul Movement if maybe you've taken a break, if you even take breaks?
Yeah, I have to say, the thing that really made me decide to invest in Wild Soul Movement was just this nagging feeling that there's got to be something else. Like there's something more. And I just felt like there was this big secret that I wasn't able to uncover. And Wild Soul Movement helped me find it. And, what I tell my students is that Wild Soul Movement helped me find my own orbit. Before I started practicing and, before I found it, I was really reactive to all the different people and, situations in my life, rather than kind of deciding how I wanted to respond to certain things or certain situations, or even drawing boundaries. So I'd say if you're feeling like there's, something else that, you need to find, if you're on the hunt for something and you feel like you just need to start something new, I would highly recommend Wild Soul Movement, because it helped me, again, find my own orbit, and it helps me really kind of recognize that, I'm a sovereign being. I'm able just to decide how I want to live my life. I am able to to choose, what it is, I want to do from day to day. And, I can't thank Elizabeth and Wild Soul Movement, enough for it.
I appreciate this so much, because this is actually this year, if you're listening to this in real time, the Power year-long women's circle, of which the Wild Soul Movement practice is like the core foundational practice of it, is a big theme of it, and a big part of the invitation is to people who are spiritual seekers and like kind of like growth junkies, right? You read all the books, you go to workshops or retreats, listen to podcasts, like always seeking, but not necessarily finding, right? Always still hungry. It's almost like the metaphor I like to use is sometimes you have a craving. We'll use cake, for example. And instead of just getting a piece of cake, you're like, well, that's a lot of calories. Let me have this instead. And then you eat like 5 other things that aren't nearly as satisfying when you could have just gotten the cake. Wild Soul Movement's kind of like the cake for a lot of people, because it goes so deep and it explores, like Christine was mentioning, the topics, which are surrender and release, trust and receptivity, wild dreaming and desire, and love and truth. All of that leads you into connecting to your own power on your own terms, right? The point is everything you've ever needed has always been inside of you. It's not dogmatic. That's very important to me, to curate, even in a group setting, a very personal experience. And so, especially if you're someone who's constantly in that growth hamster wheel, and you know, you read a book, you have a breakthrough, but then a month or two later, or a couple months later, you're back dealing with the same shit.
Yeah. It's really like a permission slip to figure out what it is you need, you know, rather than take it from everyone else.
Yes.
You can figure it out. You have it.
And be your own friggin' authority, for the love of God.
Word.
Yeah. So anyway, Christine, thank you so much. You know how much I love you and appreciate you. Again, everyone listening, check out wildsoulmovement.com/events. If you're in South Jersey, you want to check out Christine's classes. If you're interested in the virtual year-long women's circle, which is called Power, it's all about connecting to your own power. That is at wildsoulmovement.com/power. And if you would like to come to a Wild Soul Movement weekend workshop, I'm running 11 or 12. I haven't decided yet at the time of this recording, in 2019, all over the US, potentially one in Canada, and definitely one in the UK, and 2 in Australia. So there's plenty of times to connect. And you can go to wildsoulmovement.com/workshops if you'd like to come to one of those. So Christine, thank you so much. Everyone listening, appreciate you as well. We'll talk to you later.